This is Money Motivation and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls in the mothership is Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. You can find us at MX3.VIP, or you can also contact us, info@MX3.VIP, and you can also find us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MX3 Podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the icon bell to get notified of all of our new content, which comes out basically every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. Okay, two big things happening right now. Of course, when our broadcast comes out Monday morning, these two things will have happened, but the big happenings this week is, number one, Major League Baseball is kicking off. And for the first time ever, Jason, the Texas Rangers will be defending their World Series championship from 2023.
How about them Rangers?
Because they still are the World Series champions for another 6 months and maybe another 16 months. The team's looking good. And as you can see, we have our Funko Pops, our Texas Ranger World Series here in studio with us today. We have a lot of those on the table, and now we have Texas Rangers. So nevertheless, the other big item that's happening this week, it's Easter egg hunting time for those who celebrate Easter. And as I have found out, we're fixing to get into the statistics of Easter and some of the things that go along with this holiday. It's not a national holiday. There's not a paid leave on Monday morning for the government employees, etc., that usually take those kind of holidays. It's not recognized like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, July 4th. Interesting. But as you know, in this country, the United States of America, Easter's around the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and God. And we still put in God we trust on our money. But Easter's not a recognized holiday. So moving on with Easter, a couple things here. I'm going to cover three different parts. But we're just going to start with what Easter is. And of course, as we all grow up, Easter basically is about hunting eggs. But as we become adults and figure this out, it's much more than that. Easter, or Resurrection Sunday, a Christian festival of cultural holidays commemorating the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, described in the New Testament as having occurred on the third day of his burial following his crucifixion by the Romans at Calvary, 30 AD. It is the accumulation of the passion of Jesus Christ preceded by Lent, or Great Lent, a 40-day period of fasting, prayer, and penance. Easter observing Christians commonly refer to the week before Easter as Holy Week, which in the Western Christianity begins on Palm Sunday, marking the entrance of Jesus in Jerusalem, as well as Good Friday, commemorating the crucifixion and the death of Jesus. Now, the theological thoughts on what Easter is, and here is their significance in the theological response. Easter celebrates Jesus' supernatural resurrection from the dead, which is one of the chief tenets in Christian faith. Paul writes that for those who trust in Jesus' death and resurrection, death is swallowed up by the victory. The first epistle of Peter declares that God has given believers a new birth into living hope through resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Christian theology holds that through faith in the working of God, those who follow Jesus are spiritually resurrected with him so that they may walk in the new way of life and receive eternal salvation, and hope to be physically resurrected and to dwell with him in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, now, obviously, we're not a Christian radio talk show, but if you were to listen to that for the first time, you might think we are. But basically what we're doing here is giving you the definition and versions of what Easter is all about. Position of the church. This is basically Western Christianity. In most branches of Western Christianity, Easter is preceded by Lent, as we talked about, a period of penance that begins on Ash Wednesday, lasts 40 days, not counting Sundays, and is often marked with fasting. The week before Easter, known as Holy Week, is an important time for observers to commemorate the final week of Jesus' life on earth. The Sunday before Easter is Palm Sunday, with the Wednesday before Easter being known as Spy Wednesday. Also, Holy Wednesday. One of the reasons that lots of churches go to church on Wednesday. The last 3 days before Easter are Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday, sometimes referred to as Silent Saturday. Who sets the dates for Easter? In 2008, we celebrated the earliest of our lifetimes. Easter has fallen, which was on March the 23rd. It was the first time since March the 23rd. It was fallen on 23rd of March since 1913, and it won't happen again until 2160. So as you can see, you're 136 years away from being able to celebrate Easter on March 23rd again. If you were born after 2008, March 23rd, you'll never get to celebrate March 23rd as Easter Sunday. Interesting that the next 3 years from there, from the 2008, which now we're moving to 2011, we'll have celebrated the latest Easter for those born after 1943. It's the latest that they have ever celebrated Easter or had that experience, which was on April the 24th. Okay, April the 24th will also come around again in 2027. Now, have you ever wondered who sets the dates for Easter, the holiday that's the hardest to anticipate? I mean, we also have the Easter, the Thanksgiving Day, but we also know that's going to be on a Thursday, regardless. I know we know Easter is going to be on a Sunday, but the Thanksgiving Day is typically those last couple of weeks of Thanksgiving. And as a matter of fact, we'll touch on that when we come along into November. The date of Easter is actually determined by the sun and the moon, and some rules put in place, and the rules that were put in place at the Nicene Council in AD 325. So in the year 325, 1800 years ago, is when we decided to put in when we were going to celebrate Easter. The council decided Easter will occur on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the first day of spring. So Easter can fall between March 22nd and April 25th. In those 32 days, be 33 days, with 31 days being in March. So the most common date for Easter is not in April, but rather the most common day is March 31st. The second most common day is April the 16th. The third is April the 11th. March 24th has only been Easter twice, in 1799 and 1940. Okay, between now and 2252, it will not happen again. That's March 24th. March 22nd is even worse. It has not been Easter on March 22nd since 1818. And this particular article covered about 500 years. And through their calculations, it's not even within the parameters of what this calculation was done. Okay. As we talked about, in 2007, Easter fell on April the 8th. And that date hasn't happened since 1928. Okay, it also happened in 2007, and then it also happened again in 2012. So we had April the 8th twice in 5 years. Very, very interesting stuff. While in 2007 was the earliest that we've ever had Easter, the latest will occur in 2038, which will occur on April the 25th. 2008, as I say, Easter fell on April the 12th, the fourth most common day in the 500 years of accumulation of this particular survey. All right. Now, we've also had discussions, and this is kind of interesting, of adopting a particular day for Easter. The United Kingdom Parliament, we're going to have to get the government involved, of course, the United Kingdom Parliament passed Easter Act in 1928 to change the date of Easter to be the first Sunday after the second Saturday in April, or in other words, the Sunday in the period from 9 to 15 of April. However, the legislation has not implemented, although it remains on the statute books and can be implemented at any time, subject to approval of the various Christian churches in the UK. So we are approaching 100 years since they passed this act to make Easter a particular day, and they are yet to put it in play. More recently, January of 2016, the Roman Catholic Church again considered agreeing on a common universal date of Easter while simplifying the calculation of that date, with either the second or third Sunday in April being the popular choices. No action was taken. In November of 22, Roman Catholic Church, again with a combination of the Orthodox churches, had begun to determine a common date for the celebration of Easter. The agreement is expected to be reached for the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicea in 2025. So over the next year, we'll see if the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox churches adopt a particular date. Now, let's move into the religious services and the attendance. And this particular set of information and statistics was put out by Pew, a group of religious organizations that go into the statistics that come along with our daily lives in religious service attendance. This is people who have never, rarely attended religious services. Okay? In Vermont, 75% of the people have never or rarely attended religious services. New Hampshire, 66%, and Maine, 60%. They were all over 60%, and they were the highest, with Vermont coming in at 75%. All right. On the other side of that, only 32% of people from Mississippi say they haven't attended a service or rarely attended a religious service. Alabama, 36%, and Louisiana, 37%. So, as you can tell, those are in the South, which we always have called the Bible Belt. But they are the lowest numbers for adults who say they have never or seldom attended a service. Now, going back over here, I've given you the low at 32 and the high at 75, and you probably could guess somewhere in the middle of the average of the United States folks, adults, that have never, rarely attended a service is 49%. That's almost half. And that has grown by almost 10% in the last 20 years, where 40% had never, now 49%. So our young people are not into attending religious services on a regular basis. Now, they broke this chart down where in different percentages, 45 to 50, 55 to 60, and then above 60 and below 45. Here are the states, which they're all in the South. You probably already knew that. Basically it's starting at Texas and going east through the Louisianas, Alabamas, Mississippis, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Those particular states all have attendance that people who have never attended a religious service below 45%. On the other end, when you get up to above 60%, and like I told you, Vermont's already at 75%. Maine, New Hampshire, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, and Alaska. Those states hardly ever attend service. When I say hardly ever, it's more than 60% that do not. And the 55 to 60, there were only 2 states, Colorado and Wyoming were the only 2 states between 55 and 60%. So very, very interesting stuff. When you factor in 49%, so let's just say half the people go to church on a regular basis, half the people have never went or seldom do go on a regular basis. Now, why does it matter? More than 3/4 of Americans say religion's role in public life is shrinking and then this is where Pew comes in, Pew Research Center and Survey, the highest level, the first group started tracking such a stat in 2001, and we are at the highest level that we've ever been in the last 23 years. Now, many Americans are unhappy about that, with about half of the adults telling Pew both that religion is losing influence and that this is a bad thing. About 57% of adults say that religion has a positive impact on American life. Nearly half of the U.S. adults say that they feel at least some tension between religious beliefs and mainstream culture. Like I say, we were down in the 40s, and I said 2 decades ago. Let me correct that. It was at 42% in 2020, Jason. 4 years ago, it's risen 7% in 4 years, 3.5 years. Interesting. A separate survey published just a couple of weeks ago found that Latter-day Saints are the only religious group wherein a majority say they attend services weekly. Latter-day Saints come in at 54%. 30% of the Protestants say they attend services weekly, compared to 28% of Muslims, 23% of Catholics, and only 16% of the Jews say they attend services on a regular basis. Now, of course, those states that we talked about where more than 60% go to church on a regular basis in the South, that is a lot of area that's dominated by the Protestants. But of that number, only 30% go to church on a regular basis. Religious service attendance has been dropping for decades, as we've already talked about, and driven largely by the increase in the percentage of Americans with no religious affiliation. So, hey, we had a particular topic from a particular preacher out in South Carolina, North Carolina, here about a month ago. And those are the type of things that are the reasons that people don't go to church. As a matter of fact, the number one reason people don't go to church is they don't feel welcome, and that the front of the church is intimidating. It doesn't look like a welcoming place. Now, of course, you're not walking up on a porch where Andy Griffith's sitting and enjoying the evening sunset, but I guess a lot of people feel that that's what they need to see. The second reason people don't go is that they don't like the people. And the third reason people don't go to church is that church does not practice what it preaches. All good, solid reasons, and all I can relate to all three in the long history of going to church that I have had. There's no doubt about what was said right here. But when these younger folks and obviously us of an older age are not doing a very good job of getting the younger into church, and our young people that are growing up are not finding the meaning of going to church, and they sure do not know what Easter is all about. Now, I started off by saying that Easter egg hunting was a big thing, and I've given you all these statistics that basically say around half go to church on a regular basis, half have never went to a service, and if they have, it's been minimal. So, Jason, how many people do you think, percentage-wise, participate every year in an Easter egg hunt?
Easter eggs versus going to church?
Yes, because we don't go to church. Some people don't even know about church.
Yeah.
Some people do not. A lot of people don't know what Easter even means.
Yeah.
But they know what an Easter egg hunt is.
Yeah. About 75% of, I would say, Americans.
80.
Okay.
80%.
Yeah.
Give or take a couple of points. Have been involved in an Easter egg hunt. Have an Easter egg hunt every year. On and on and on. But they do not realize what the reason is. It's just like the same thing with Christmas. You got a lot of people that are atheists, and I mean a lot. I don't have a percentage on it, but there are more than there's ever been that are atheists. They do not believe in church. They don't go to church. They don't believe in God, but they're sure going to be sitting in that living room getting that present on Christmas morning, not even thinking about a fact of why there even is a Christmas. And of course, Easter goes right along with that. And I was surprised, and I've never thought about it, but I was surprised to realize that Easter is not a regular holiday on our I guess United States government calendar. And for that matter, it's not widely celebrated like you possibly would think and believe. But nevertheless, it is Easter time, and when our show comes out, it will be the day after Easter. So from Money, Motivation, and Mike, we definitely want to wish you a happy Easter and happy Easter egg hunting. And as we always talk about, our Texas Rangers kick off on Thursday, or did kick off on Thursday, and we'll have a three-game set against the Chicago Cubs in defense of their World Series championship. So enjoy your Easter time, or hopefully that you have enjoyed your Easter time. And once again, Money, Motivation, and Mike continues to try to bring you topics that are important and we find important, and obviously you do as well with the numbers you continue to turn into us with our watching and listening audience. You can always contact us at info@mx3.vip and find all of our content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MX3 Podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our content, which comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. So for everyone who's been a part of this show, continue to live your life the right way.